I stared at the email on my phone. The subject line read, "Wedding update, please read." That's how I found out my daughter didn't want me at her own wedding reception. Well, not exactly like that, but close enough to break something inside me I didn't know could still break. Let me back up. My name's Robert, but everyone calls me Rob. I'm 62 years old, been a licensed electrician in Ontario for 40 years. Good work, honest work. The kind that keeps the lights on, literally. I raised my daughter Emma alone after my wife Sarah passed from breast cancer when Emma was only 7. Sarah made me promise 2 things before she died. Take care of our girl, and make sure she never feels like she can't chase her dreams just because she's from a working-class family. I kept those promises. Worked double shifts when Emma wanted to go to university. Took on weekend emergency calls when she needed help with rent during her master's program. Never once asked for a penny back. She was my investment, my pride, my reason for getting up every morning and strapping on those work boots. Emma graduated top of her class from McMaster with a degree in environmental engineering. Smart as a whip, that girl. Got herself a good job at a consulting firm in Toronto. Moved into a nice condo in Liberty Village. I was so proud I could have burst. This is what Sarah and I had worked for, right? Our daughter making something of herself. Then, about 18 months ago, Emma started dating this guy named Harrison Blackwood. Even his name sounded expensive. Came from old money in Vancouver. Family owned a chain of luxury car dealerships across BC and Alberta. He'd moved to Toronto for some executive position at a tech company his family had invested in. 28 years old and already wearing suits that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. When Emma first brought him to my house in Mississauga for dinner, I'll admit I was nervous. My place is nothing fancy. 3-bedroom bungalow I bought in 1998. Needs a new roof. Got that worn-in look of a house that's been lived in and loved, but never quite renovated. I made my signature spaghetti and meatballs, set out the good dishes, even bought a bottle of wine instead of my usual beer. Harrison seemed nice enough that first night. Shook my hand firm, called me sir, complimented my cooking, asked intelligent questions about electrical work, seemed genuinely interested when I talked about rewiring heritage homes. Emma was glowing, happier than I'd seen her since before Sarah died. That's all that mattered to me. 6 months into their relationship, Harrison proposed. Took her to Banff, got down on one knee at Lake Louise with the mountains behind them. The ring was massive, had to be at least 2 carats. Emma called me crying happy tears, and I cried too, though I'd never admit that to anyone. "Dad," she said through her tears, "I wish Mom could be here for this." "She is, sweetheart," I told her. "She's always with you." The wedding planning started immediately. Emma and Harrison wanted to get married at the estates of Sunnybrook, this gorgeous venue in Toronto. When Emma told me the cost, I nearly choked on my coffee. $65,000, just for the venue and catering. That wasn't including the dress, the flowers, the photographer, the band, the open bar. "Dad, I know it's expensive," Emma said quickly. "Harrison's parents are paying for most of it. We just need help with the venue deposit and maybe the catering." I looked at my daughter's face. She had her mother's eyes, that same hopeful expression Sarah used to get when she wanted something. "How much are we talking?" I asked. "The deposit is $15,000, and our share of the catering is $22,000. So $37,000 total. I know that's a lot, Dad. Harrison's parents are covering the rest, about $48,000. If it's too much, we understand. I'll cover it," I said. Didn't even think twice. "Your mother and I always planned to pay for your wedding. Consider it done." Emma hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might crack. "Thank you, Daddy. Thank you so much." I called my financial advisor the next day. Had to pull from my retirement savings, the RRSP I'd been building for 30 years. But this was Sarah's daughter, our daughter. And this was her wedding. You only get married once, right? At least, that's what you hope. The planning went on for months. I got added to this group chat called Dream Wedding Squad with Emma, Harrison, both sets of parents, and the wedding planner. Most of the time, I just read the messages, didn't contribute much. What did I know about chair covers and centerpiece arrangements? but I liked feeling included, seeing Emma's excitement build with every decision. Then things started to shift. Small things at first. There was a tasting session at the venue for the catering options. I showed up in my clean jeans and a button-down shirt, same thing I wore to church when I bothered going. Harrison's parents were there, James and Catherine Blackwood. James wore a blazer that probably cost 3 months of my mortgage. Catherine had on more jewelry than I'd seen outside a store window. Harrison's mother looked me up and down when we were introduced. Not obvious, but I caught it. That little flicker of assessment, that moment where someone decides what drawer to file you in. "Robert," she said, shaking my hand with just her fingers, like she was afraid of catching something. "Harrison speaks so highly of Emma. Such an accomplished young woman." "Thank you. I'm very proud of her." "And you're in construction. Is that right?" "Electrician," I corrected. "Licensed master electrician, actually." "How nice. Blue-collar work is so important." The way she said it, like she was complimenting a child for coloring inside the lines. But I smiled and moved on, not worth making a scene. During the tasting, they discussed wine pairings. Catherine insisted on a specific Okanagan winery, something about a vertical they'd enjoyed at their cottage in Whistler. When the catering manager mentioned the cost was an additional $8,000, I nearly spit out my water. "That's quite a bit more than we discussed," I said. Harrison jumped in. "We'll cover the difference, Robert. Don't worry about it." But Catherine added, "Well, we could go with a cheaper option, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Surely we want the best?" The implication hung there. I wanted to argue, but Emma looked so uncomfortable that I just nodded and took another bite of the salmon option. A few weeks later, Emma called me. "Dad, Harrison wants to talk to you about something. Can we come over?" They showed up that evening. Emma looked nervous, kept twisting her engagement ring. Harrison did most of the talking. "Robert, first, thank you again for your generous contribution to the wedding. It means everything to us." He paused, and I knew something uncomfortable was coming. "The thing is, my parents have a lot of business associates who'll be attending, and the wedding is kind of a social event for them too. Networking, you know how it is." I didn't, actually, but I nodded. "So my mom was thinking about the seating arrangements, and she suggested that maybe you'd be more comfortable at a table with some of Emma's university friends, rather than at the head table, just so you don't have to deal with all the business talk and boring conversations." I looked at Emma. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "The head table," I said slowly. "That's where the bride's father traditionally sits, isn't it?" "Traditionally, yes," Harrison said. "But we're doing a modern wedding, trying to keep things flexible and comfortable for everyone." "Who would be at the head table?" I asked. "Me, Emma, my parents, my best man, Emma's maid of honor. And we thought maybe Emma's Aunt Linda, since she helped raise Emma too." Linda, my sister-in-law. She'd visited maybe 4 times since Sarah died, but she lived in Oakville in a nice house, drove a nice car, fit the aesthetic better than I would. Emma finally spoke up. "Dad, it's not about you. It's just that Harrison's parents have all these important people coming. And I get it," I said, though I didn't. "Whatever makes you happy, sweetheart." After they left, I sat in my living room for a long time, looking at the photos on the mantel. Sarah and me on our wedding day at that small church in Etobicoke. Emma as a baby. Emma graduating high school. Emma graduating university. All the moments I'd worked for, saved for, sacrificed for. The email came 2 weeks before the wedding. Subject line, "Wedding update. Please read." I opened it sitting in my truck during lunch break, parked outside a house where I was rewiring the kitchen. The email was from Harrison, but clearly drafted with his mother's input. "Dear Robert, as we approach the wedding date, we've been reviewing the final details with our wedding planner. After careful consideration, we think it might be best if you attend the ceremony at Sunnybrook, walk Emma down the aisle, as tradition dictates, but then perhaps skip the reception. We know you're not comfortable with large social gatherings, and honestly, the reception is going to be very long, very formal, with a lot of business networking that would probably bore you. Emma's Aunt Linda has graciously offered to stand in as mother of the bride for the reception festivities, which we thought was incredibly kind of her. We'll of course have a special family dinner the next day where you can celebrate with Emma properly in a more intimate, comfortable setting. We hope you understand this isn't personal. It's just about making sure everyone enjoys themselves in the environment that suits them best. The ceremony is at 3 p.m. on June 18th. We'll make sure you have a seat of honor for that part. Best regards, Harrison and Emma. I read it 3 times. Then I sat there in my truck, hands shaking, while my lunch went cold beside me. Not comfortable with large social gatherings. I'd worked with dozens of crews over 40 years. I'd done estimates with millionaire homeowners. I'd taught weekend courses at the college. Too boring for me? No. Too embarrassing for them. That's what this was. The electrician father, in his off-the-rack suit, maybe saying the wrong thing, using the wrong fork, not knowing which wine paired with which course. The working man who didn't fit their aesthetic, didn't photograph well for their social media perfect wedding. And Emma. Emma had signed off on this. The daughter I raised alone. The daughter I'd worked 60-hour weeks for. The daughter whose university I paid for by taking every emergency call, every holiday shift, every job no one else wanted. She was embarrassed of me. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, found the transfer receipts. $15,000 for the venue deposit, paid 4 months ago. $22,000 for the catering, paid 6 weeks ago. Both transfers cleared, both non-refundable, according to the contracts. Then I did something I hadn't done since Sarah's funeral. I cried. Just sat there in my work truck outside someone's house in Scarborough and cried like a child. When I finally pulled myself together, I called the venue. Estates of Sunnybrook. This is Jennifer speaking. Hi, Jennifer. My name is Robert Chen. I'm the father of the bride for the Blackwood Chen wedding on June 18th. Oh yes, Mr. Chen. Everything is coming together beautifully for that event. How can I help you? I need to know something about the contracts. I paid for the venue deposit and the catering. If the wedding were to be canceled, who would get the refunds? Well, let me check the contract holder. It looks like the contracts are under Harrison Blackwood's name, but the payments came from your account. So technically, any refunds would go to the contract holder, Mr. Blackwood. Even though I paid? Unfortunately, yes. The contracts dictate that. And if I wanted to withdraw my funding now, 2 weeks before the wedding, there was a pause. Mr. Chen, the deposits are non-refundable, as stated in the contract. However, the remaining balance is due 1 week before the event. If that balance isn't paid, the venue would have to cancel the booking. What's the remaining balance? For the catering specifically, it's $18,000, due by June 11th. The venue was paid in full, with your deposit. What happens if the $18,000 doesn't get paid? Another pause. We'd have to cancel the catering service. And without catering, we can't host the event. The venue would be released to other bookings. I understand. Thank you, Jennifer. I hung up and called my bank. Yes, I need to stop a scheduled payment, I told the representative. It's for $18,000, scheduled for June 11th. Payee is Estates of Sunnybrook. May I ask the reason for stopping this payment, Mr. Chen? Change of plans, I said. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Sarah, what she'd say. She always had a way of cutting through my anger to the truth beneath it. Around 2 a.m., I realized something. Emma hadn't called me herself. Harrison had sent that email. Harrison and his mother. I grabbed my phone and texted Emma, "Sweetheart, can you come over tomorrow? Just you. Need to talk." She replied almost immediately, even at 2 a.m., "Is everything okay? Just need to see you. Tomorrow? I'll come after work." She showed up the next evening in her work clothes, looking worried. I made us tea, Sarah's old teapot that Emma bought her for Mother's Day years ago. "Dad, you're scaring me. Are you sick? Is it your heart?" "I'm fine. But I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Did you read the email Harrison sent me?" Her face went pale. "What email?" I pulled it up on my phone and handed it to her. Watched her face as she read it. Saw the exact moment she understood. "Dad, I didn't know he sent this. We talked about seating arrangements, but I never said." She looked up at me, eyes filling with tears. You think I don't want you at my reception? Do you? No. God, no. Dad, Harrison's mother has been. She stopped, seemed to be choosing her words carefully. She's been very involved in the planning. She keeps saying things like the optics and the guest demographic, and I know it sounds terrible, but I've just been trying to keep the peace. When she suggested Aunt Linda at the head table, I should have said no. I should have fought for you. I'm so sorry. Why didn't you? Emma broke down. Really broke down, in a way I hadn't seen since she was a little girl. Because I'm tired, Dad. I'm tired of being caught in the middle. Harrison's family has all this money, all this influence, and I'm just the girl from Mississauga who got lucky. His mother keeps making these little comments about my background, about how I'm fresh and unspoiled by privilege. It sounds like a compliment, but it's not. It's her saying I don't belong. And Harrison? He lets her talk to you like that? He says I'm being sensitive, that his mother means well, that I need to understand this is how people in their world operate. She wiped her eyes. Dad, what if I'm making a mistake? That question hung in the air between us. Do you love him? I asked. I think so. I don't know anymore. I love who he is when we're alone. But when we're with his family, he becomes someone else. Someone who thinks it's okay to uninvite you from your own daughter's wedding reception. I took her hand. Emma, I've paid $37,000 toward this wedding. I don't care about the money. I'd pay 10 times that to see you happy. But I won't pay a dime to watch you marry someone who's ashamed of where you come from, ashamed of who raised you. What are you saying? I'm saying that the remaining payment for the catering is due in 5 days. $18,000. If that payment doesn't go through, there's no wedding. At least not this wedding. Dad, you wouldn't. I absolutely would. But it's your choice, sweetheart. You tell me right now that you want this wedding, that you want this marriage, that you love Harrison enough to spend your life navigating between who you are and who his family wants you to be. And I'll make that payment. I'll sit in whatever corner they put me in. I'll smile for the photos they allow me in, and I'll never mention it again. And if I don't, then we take the loss. Chalk it up to a expensive lesson learned. And you and I will go to Tim Hortons, get a box of Timbits, and figure out your next move. Like we always have. Emma sat there for a long time, crying quietly. Then she took off her engagement ring and set it on the table. I don't want this wedding, she whispered. I thought I did. The dress, the venue, the fairy tale. But it's not a fairy tale, is it? It's his family's social event that I'm just a prop in. You sure? I think I've been sure for a while. I've just been too scared to admit it. She looked at the ring on the table. What do I do now? Now, you call Harrison. You tell him the truth, and then we deal with whatever comes next. Together. She made the call right there, speakerphone so I could hear. Emma? What's wrong? Harrison's voice, concerned but also annoyed, like she was interrupting something important. I can't marry you, Emma said, voice steadier than I expected. The wedding is off. What? Emma, what are you talking about? We're 2 weeks away. Is this about your father? Because my mom and I already explained. It's about the fact that you sent my father an email uninviting him from our wedding without telling me. It's about the fact that your mother has been criticizing me for months, and you've never once defended me. It's about the fact that when I'm with your family, I feel like I'm playing a part instead of being myself. You're being dramatic. This is pre-wedding jitters. Everyone gets them. No, Harrison. This is me realizing that I'm about to marry someone who thinks my father isn't good enough to sit at our head table. My father, who raised me alone after my mom died, who worked double shifts so I could go to university, who taught me that your worth isn't measured by your bank account or your postal code. Your father is a fine man, Emma, but this is about the reality of my family's social circle. You know this wedding is important for my parents' business. Listen to yourself, Emma interrupted. This is supposed to be our wedding, our day, not a networking opportunity for your parents. You're overreacting. No, I'm finally reacting appropriately. The wedding is off. I'll return the ring tomorrow. Please tell your parents I'm sorry for any inconvenience. She hung up before he could respond. We sat there in silence for a moment, Then Emma started laughing. Not happy laughing, but the kind of laugh that comes when you've been holding everything in for so long that when you finally let go, it all comes out at once. I was about to marry him, she said between laughs and tears. I was actually going to marry him. But you didn't, I reminded her. You chose different. My phone started ringing. Harrison. I declined. It rang again. Harrison's mother. Declined. Then the text started coming. Harrison. Emma, call me back. This is ridiculous. Catherine Blackwood. Mr. Chen, I hope you're satisfied. You've ruined your daughter's happiness. James Blackwood. We need to discuss the financial arrangements immediately. Harrison again. Your father is manipulating you. This is financial abuse. I showed Emma the texts. She took my phone and typed a response to Harrison. My father is the only person in this situation who ever put my happiness first, including me, until now. Please don't contact either of us again. She blocked all of them and handed my phone back. Now what? She asked. Now we call the venue and tell them the wedding is canceled. Now we call your Aunt Linda and tell her she doesn't have to play mother of the bride. Now we order pizza and watch that documentary about the Leafs you've been bugging me to watch. Just like that, just like that. Over the next few days, the calls kept coming. Not to my phone anymore, but to Emma's work, to mutual friends, to everyone in their social circle. Harrison's mother was apparently telling everyone that I was controlling, that I'd manipulated Emma, that I couldn't stand to see my daughter happy. Emma quit her job, said she didn't want to be in the same city as Harrison anymore. She moved back home, into her old bedroom with the posters she'd put up in high school still on the walls. We fell into a routine. I'd make breakfast before heading to work sites. She'd spend her days applying for jobs, going to interviews, slowly rebuilding. We'd have dinner together every night, talking about everything and nothing. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she laughed. Sometimes she just sat quietly, processing everything. 3 months later, Emma got a job offer from an environmental consulting firm in Ottawa. Better position, better pay, fresh start. Take it, I told her. It's far from you. It's 2 hours. I can drive. Plus, you need this. You need to remember who you are without anyone else's expectations hanging over you. She took the job, moved to Ottawa, started dating a guy who worked in renewable energy, someone who thought it was cool that her dad was an electrician and actually wanted to learn about load calculations and circuit breakers when he visited. A year after the canceled wedding, Emma called me on a Saturday morning. Dad, I need to tell you something. My heart jumped. You okay? I'm great. But I've been thinking a lot about last year, and I need you to know something. Thank you for being willing to lose that money. Thank you for giving me a way out when I was too scared to find it myself. And thank you for teaching me that sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who won't just support your decisions, but who'll help you question them when they need questioning. That's what dads do, sweetheart. Not all dads. Trust me. I know women at work whose fathers would have just been happy to have a son-in-law with money. You never cared about that stuff. You only ever cared about whether I was happy. And are you? Happy? I'm getting there. And Dad? If I ever get married, really married, you're sitting right next to me at that head table. I don't care who else is there or what they think. Deal? Deal. I never got that $37,000 back. The venue kept the deposits, the catering company kept their payment, but I got something better. I got my daughter back. The real Emma, not the version of herself she was trying to twist into to fit someone else's life. These days, I'm 63, still working, still strapping on those boots every morning. Emma visits once a month, brings her boyfriend who asks if he can help with projects around the house. We go to Leafs games when they're in town. We get Tim Hortons on Sunday mornings. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I think about that email. About Harrison's casual dismissal of me as someone not worthy of his wedding. About how close I came to watching my daughter marry into a family that would have spent the rest of her life making her feel like she wasn't enough. $37,000. That's what it cost to save my daughter from a lifetime of pretending to be someone she wasn't. Best money I ever spent.